Hello everyone, welcome back to Drawn by Annie channel. This is me, Annie, and I will be drawing for you today. Grab your tea, coffee and snacks and let's dive into today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be coloring one of the original characters that belongs to my own personal fantasy project, as I wanted to practice something large-scaled and I decided to go here with my stress-free sketchbook, and in case something isn't as good as I want it to be, I don't really care because I can just rip out the page from the sketchbook and forget about it like a nightmare. Although I don't think that will happen. But anyway, meet Yekaterina, an Agnician guards head chief in Aurelian Crossroads city, and she is Golden Ermine by race and has not the typical features of an Agnician. So I figured that she will be a nice practice material for me because I rarely draw armor and also I rarely draw big portraits, so I decided I would just do exactly those two things. And for big drawings like this, I prefer something that would help me color things quickly and not require too much time and effort. So I'm going with my alcohol-based markers for the coloring part, and for the line art I'm going to use a brush liner. But as always, I'm starting with the sketching with an erasable sketch pencil, and I decided to go with the red colored one, and I'm sketching the general parts and the structure of the face and shoulders, not going too much deep into the details as I don't think I'm going to do much detailing on this one. I just want to kind of illustrate the character for my players so they can imagine her face when they're interacting with her. When I was designing this character before actually putting her into the story, I was inspired off of another character that I really like. Her name is Olivia Mira Armstrong and she is from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood anime. She is one of those strong characters that is also a soldier, so I couldn't really help it, but her vibe was actually a perfect vibe for me to be inspired of for a character that is a guardian's chef. She needed to be firm, tall, sharp, and also very brave and self-gathered because she is the one that would command a lot of people, you know. And I kind of wanted her to be the symbol of sisterhood because while typically Ignitians in my world are not war or soldier oriented, in this specific case, this is a village that has suffered from certain events that kind of destroyed most of the males and soldiers and guardians of the city. So historically there was a lady who gathered the rest of the ladies in the village and they fought back those events. So that's why most of the cavalry is actually filled with female soldiers. So in the center, or let's say head of such a force, I needed a very sharp looking character that would also be a strong female character. So having all of this in mind actually helps me better choose the color palette and shapes for the character design. So triangles and sharp edges are going to be very persistent in this character design. I specifically made her face a little bit more elongated and her chin is a bit more sharper. And my main idea and focus on this character design would be the sharp look. I wanted to create something that would send little chills across your spine if she would look at you directly. So I went for a really judging look in this one, and I also specifically made her fangs very visible, even though usually when I'm drawing Ignitians I make them barely visible. All these little details kind of contribute to the picture of the character who says, look, I'm pretty, but I'm also strong, firm, and I will eat you alive if you give me a reason to. So for the coloring process, I'm just going with my usual habits. I'm going with base coloring and then working on my layers gradually, adding more darker colors in the shaded areas. And with the marker coloring, I'm usually going with cell shading technique. I cannot really make any gradients or soft shadows because it will just take forever for me to do it like in a big drawing like this. and I don't want to give myself hard time coloring, so I'm just going for cell shading and a little bit of a gradient on her cheeks because that doesn't take much time, and I really like the blush on the character faces because it makes it look less flat, if that makes sense. Ekaterina's color palette is going to be very bright and warm because it's also lore explained. Firstly, because this is a city on a crossroads that have a lot of different nations mixed together, so she doesn't have a typical hair color for an Ignatian because she's not a noble and she's not a pure blood Ignatian. That's one thing. And second thing, this is historically explained by the past events. Basically, there was a big resonance anomaly which caused a huge fire that destroyed a large chunk of territory, but this village actually managed to survive. So a lot of symbolism comes from the flames, including the colors, which are mostly bright orange, red, and yellows, and it kind of mixed in with traditional Pradician and Ignatian cultures, which is usually inspired of beautiful flowers and plants. So all the design elements and environment would represent flowers, flames, including the armor of the guardians. And the closest metallic color to this palette would be gold, so this color also fits in perfectly into this story. And later on I can also sprinkle it with some extra lore, for example, that in order to avoid such a tragedy again in the future, they have invented a special alchemically enchanted coating which makes armor looks like it's made of gold. So yeah, you know, things like this. I really find it very helpful to use lore and world building, actually thinking of reasons and history of certain design elements and parts. That really helps make the character look unique and also explain why you choosing the color palettes or details or ornaments or stuff like that. It gives a nice feeling of purpose on each element on the character. So I really like how the world building process actually affects my art and art making process and character designing, and I really like and enjoy this state of flow when I'm just brainstorming for some completely unrelated things at first glance, and then I find myself thinking, oh, how would the characters in this location look like, you know? So honestly, I really enjoy designing my own original characters because now they belong in the world, and just one look at them can actually tell a whole story, where they come from, what is their background, what is their regular routine, and even the character traits. And having a fantasy setting like Lyria world for me actually helps me a ton with staying creative and productive, and also enjoying the whole process of character creation and designing and brainstorming and, you know, sketching out all the ideas and then trying to find the perfect balance between all the ideas. All of that brings a lot of joy and creativity into my everyday life. A lot of daydreaming is happening during my morning walks, and sometimes when I'm entering my house back, I have a notebook full of ideas that are almost certainly going to be sketched on the same day, and some of those sketches are even turning into a full colored art like this. Anyway, here is the finished portrait of Ekaterina, a guard's head chief in Aurelian Crossroads City. I really hope that you enjoyed the art process as much as I did, and I really hope that my little insight will help in your own creation and designing process. If you like my work and you want to support my channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave your thoughts down in the comments, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye bye!